Aotearoa is a nation founded on a document which binds together two vastly different cultures upon the principles of partnership and active protection. Te Tiriti o Waitangi is the foundation for our country, and on paper promises both parties a number of rights, protections, and privileges. However, in practice as a nation, we've fallen short of enjoying the promise within the words of Te Tiriti. Sometimes Māori are said to have unfair and privileged access to rights and resources unavailable to other members of society. Even our media tends to publish this kind of information. This view of Māori as privileged is, however, oppositional to the scientific data on social relativities within New Zealand society, where Māori experience major disparities in health, wealth, education, access, and social standing. Despite being promised the same rights and privileges as Pakeha, Māori have experienced intergenerational suffering, hardship, and loss of culture because of the state's failure to uphold their rights. In consideration thereof, Her Majesty, the Queen of England, extends to the natives of New Zealand her royal protection and imparts to them all the rights and privileges of British subjects. However, Māori are more than twice as likely to be admitted to hospital for infectious diseases, to live in social housing, to be unemployed. In crime and justice, they're 3 times more likely to be apprehended for a criminal offence and be prosecuted for it, 4 times more likely to be convicted, 1.5 times more likely to be sentenced to imprisonment on conviction. Despite making up only 14% of the general population, they make up 51% of the prison population. Is that really what privilege looks like? Inequality for Indigenous children is not an issue that is unique to Aotearoa. Australia. Half as likely to graduate. Juvenile detention rates 24 times higher than non-Indigenous mortality rates twice as high. Canada. Life expectancy 5 to 15 years lower for Aboriginal adults overrepresented in custody. Aboriginal people more likely to be the victim of violent crime. USA. Native American students have 3 times higher dropout rates. Black offenders receive longer sentences compared to white rates. For reservation Indians are 39%. 1 in 3 black males can expect to go to prison in their lifetime. There is no shortage of people who understand how this works. As Professor Sir Mason Jury explains, disparities are totally unacceptable in a modern society, and inequalities between Māori and Pakeha should not be tolerated. Jane Elliott, the teacher who ran the Blue Eyes Brown Eyes experiment in Riceville, Iowa, after Martin Luther King was murdered.
I tell people that I want to make a change, to become active, to become aware, to educate themselves, and then to act on what they know. But to act, not to stand idly by. The only thing necessary for the perpetuation of evil is for good people to do nothing. I want the people who are exposed to me to be determined to do something.
And Paulo Freire, considered one of the key founders of critical pedagogy, says, "Washing one's hands of the conflict between the powerful and the powerless means to side with the powerful, not to be neutral." Institutional racism and structural discrimination are significant contributors to these disparities, and this is a fundamental reason why it's imperative that all New Zealanders, but particularly those in positions of influence and power and acting under the Crown, must be committed to being change agents. This means recognising our own agency as advocates for our rangatahi and their families and whānau, with respect to their right to their culture, language, values and tikanga. It also means advocating for Pakeha young people with respect to their rights to understand, value, and be immersed in the heritage and Indigenous culture and language that are unique to Aotearoa. It means that institutions must be proactively anti-bias in this respect, because a level playing field often tends to reinforce the existing disparities and perpetuate the problems.
Lots of people of color, blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, Asian Americans, drop out. Well, they don't drop out, they get pushed out. We create an unwelcoming environment for those who are other than white, and whose lifestyles may be different, and whose culture may be different, and we make it uncomfortable enough for them that they decide to leave and lose the education, or lose the job, which means they lose their living.
Māori have been promised the right to achieve success as Māori, not just in spite of it. The bottom line is, they should not have to leave their culture at the gate in order to participate or succeed at any level in our society.